Clockwork Soldier.
Generation Orange in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I ruined your intro.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Generation Orange. My name is Edson Ochoa, and right here is also Sean Ringrose. What's up, guys?
Yo.
How is the Orange Wonderland doing this week?
This camera feels so freaking close to my face. This is awesome. Anyways. I'm
there
good.
We go.
I'm good. It's been a good week. Yes, Dynamo lost. Yes, RGV didn't win. Par for the course. Yes, Dash didn't win. But, personally speaking, I had a decent week, other than some things. But it was a good week. It was a week.
No, that definitely. Push comes to shove, it was decent. We have some really good games with World Cup, so at least we get our fix there.
That's the thing. I mean, all the frustrations that I've had over various Dynamo-related clubs have been mitigated by the quality of this World Cup. And when I say quality, I'm not necessarily referring to the quality of the better teams, but it's been the quality of the lower teams stepping up to put the pressure on the quote-unquote better teams that has made this World Cup actually worth watching. A perfect example was Argentina and Nigeria today. That match was everything, and Nigeria should have had that penalty, as we discussed earlier.
Yes.
Clear cut, no question, and yet VAR didn't call it. So, at the end of the day, I'm like,
I see you, Callow.
I'm like, that's just frustrating. Yeah, no, you need to fix it first. You need to adjust the top part. It's like folded funky.
What do you mean?
The top part, the hat part.
It's supposed to be kind of like this, because this is made out of.
No, I know what it's made out of.
Yeah.
But it's still supposed to have a slight dip to it, and right now it looks like a fez.
It's not.
It looks like a fez, bro. Come on.
All right.
There you go. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking for. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That was it. I wasn't asking for anything special. Just that. Anyways, so Edson's clearly showing his support for Team Colombia going into the final couple of days here of World Cup, and like I said, I mean the matches have been pretty good. There's been some that have been letdowns, but those tended to be earlier matches, not later matches in terms of the earlier in the group stage. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the round of 16. I continue to say that as good as Argentina played today, which, to be fair, they didn't really play all that well today, in my opinion, but they got the win, but against a club they should have beat anyways. So you look at it and you go, it took a 89th, 85th minute winner or something like that for them to win the match.
Yes.
And it was a fantastic play, but at the same time, you're not going to get away with those kinds of plays. You're not going to end up with a guy open in the box 98% of the time, especially that late in a match against better teams. So, we'll see with what happens with Argentina from here on. I think they're coming against a France team that's on the upswing, and Argentina's kind of on that downswing. And I think France is. I said it in Discord. I said it in text messages to people. I believe France is going to decimate Argentina.
I think one of the biggest.
Well, you have Argentina winning.
Yeah.
So you're gonna say
they have not really shown, so what you're trying to say from your statement before is that Argentina pretty much reached its peak in this game against Nigeria?
Even if they played to this level against France, they're not coming away with a win. Mm-hmm. This was not a good enough performance to win against another round of 16 team. This was good enough to win against a team that may have potentially made round of 16. But against other round of 16 teams, it's not going to cut it, especially not against France. And the reason I say that is France defensively is actually pretty sound. And I'm going to say this. The keeper for France, Hugo Lloris, while he's had some gaffes in this World Cup, he's a fantastic keeper, and he showed it in the last match. He can stop shots when they come at him. And I don't think Argentina's going to beat him. I don't. Argentina's going to have chances because they're an offensive team. But where Argentina's going to struggle is against France's attack.
Yeah.
Mbappe is going to tear them a new one. They don't know how to handle good offensive attacking players, and their offense doesn't know how to handle an actually good defense. So, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I just have a feeling that, like you said, Mbappe is going to have a field day, especially if you have Mascherano out in the back. Yep. You continue to play Mascherano, who has shown to have shown his age, and yet you still continue to play him, that's going to be a big disadvantage for you with somebody that is extremely speedy and technical, I would assume.
Well, and you can tack on to that, the storyline going into this match really for Argentina was that they weren't starting their normal starting goalkeeper. They were starting the one that basically the fans were clamoring for them to start, who'd been playing for River Plate and had a really good season for River Plate.
Armani.
He had a pretty good match, albeit beside the Nigeria goal. But even then, that really, it was a penalty. So you can't blame the keeper on a penalty. Mm-hmm. Whatever. So, really at the end of the match, and he made some saves that were outstanding. He made some saves that he had to make, and he's a better goalkeeper than what they had in goal before. That's for sure. I don't even remember the name of the guy they had in goal.
Willy Caballero.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Caballero.
But here's the interesting part, because Armani is the keeper that came in the best of form, because Willy Caballero he's a bench. Mm-hmm. Nahuel Guzman had some blunders at the end of the season, which caused Tigres to be eliminated from this past tournament, and so Armani was the most logical decision underneath the goal.
Yeah.
For this World Cup, but yet for some reason, don't know if it's because of Sampaoli, or if they're rumored that Messi is the one that chooses who he plays, with, if he had anything to do with it.
Somehow I doubt he's going to pick his keeper. Now, because, his keeper doesn't have any effect on how he plays. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't
have a good trip, Cisco.
Is he headed to Corpus?
Yes.
Drive safe, man.
But
Anyways.
Yeah, and then another thing that I just can't fathom about this Argentinian team is Dybala.
Yeah.
And the bench again.
Yeah. But it worked out for Argentina.
See,
So I wonder
if you go with my result.
So some of this too is Argentina is expected to make it to the round of 16. So perhaps one of the thinking from coach is maybe what you do is you kind of keep that as your secret weapon going into the round of 16. Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot of tape on Dybala in terms of with Juventus and stuff like that, but there's not a lot of tape necessarily with him with Argentina, and so getting to kind of throw him in there in the round of 16 against France, who maybe doesn't have quite as they're not prepared for how he's going to play with Argentina. Yes, that could be a significant shift in the overall dynamic of the match. But and part of it is maybe they want to go with the experience of Higuain up top, and his strength compared to Dybala's strength, it's a total different situation. He's a lot
the
stronger.
Ability to miss shots that anybody else can make.
The ability to dive when he's touched is second to none. I take that back. Diego Costa's worse. But at the end of the day, I can question Argentina all I want, but they made it to the round of 16 when they shouldn't have. They made it to the round of 16, but I really firmly believe they're not making it any further. I'm sorry, Edson. I know that's going to hurt you pretty bad in those point totals at the end of the World Cup here.
Yes.
But there's still 4 more matches to come, and tomorrow's matches are Group E. I don't have the sheet out here with me. I left it in my room.
Sure.
So it'll be E and F. Yeah, it'll be groups E and F.
So you have Mexico and Sweden at 9.
And Germany.
And then Germany, South Korea.
Yeah.
And then after that, at 1, it'll be Switzerland versus Costa Rica and Serbia versus Brazil.
Yeah. So Switzerland beats Costa Rica, they're in, which nobody saw coming. Although I actually had them in 3rd place, and I'm kind of regretting it because I was wavering between them and Costa Rica. Crap. But anyway, so Switzerland, I think they're a good enough team that they can make it for sure. And Costa Rica did not come into this thing looking like the Costa Rica of 4 years ago. Brazil is an okay team. They don't look nearly as lethal as they should look for a team of their caliber. Mm-hmm. Germany, South Korea, I think is the match to really watch. Mexico, Sweden's going to be fun to watch, but I think Germany, South Korea is going to be the match to watch, because if Germany goes out there and doesn't really play as hard as they need to, they may not lose, but a draw is not good enough for them. They have to win. And that's unusual territory for Germany to be in, to have to win. Now granted, Toni Kroos proved that he could definitely take it on his shoulders and win the match when it's needed. Yeah. That free kick goal was otherworldly amazing. Like I said, you saw it after I mentioned it. It one-upped Cristiano Ronaldo's free kick. It was that freaking good. I think it was much more difficult because of the angle of the shot. Not only that, but he had the ball moving to him. Yes. Because the ball was played to him. And so he wasn't playing it on a dead stop either. Now, granted, that works to his favor because it's supposed to cheat the keeper a little bit away from where he's shooting it. It didn't matter. The keeper wasn't getting that ball. It was just perfect. It was just everything perfect. And then Thursday's matches, since you haven't read those off yet either. Sure. Thursday's matches are Senegal versus Colombia at 9 in the morning. And Senegal, who's in first place in that group, which I would have never seen coming. I don't think anybody did. No, nobody did. And then Japan and Poland, because I think I had Colombia and Japan. Yeah, we both had Colombia and Japan. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't surprise me if Colombia and Japan were the ones to advance. But, man, Senegal at top of the group is just crazy to me right now. They look actually a pretty darn good team this year. It goes back to what you started the show saying, the fact that the lesser-known teams have made a big surprise. Does this mean that
the gap is closing in really quick.
Well, you look at like Mexico beating Germany. That was a big deal, and that kind of prefaced the entire tournament. Look at Croatia and what they did in their group this group stage. Nobody, I mean, people had Croatia advancing. Nobody had them first in the group. And don't get me wrong, teams that should be advancing are advancing, but they're not advancing in dominant fashion. They're not advancing with 7-0 wins, 7-2 wins. They're advancing on 1-0, 2-0 wins. In games 2 and 3, and it's interesting to see. And I wonder if some of the games that we've seen in Volgograd, where it's 93 degrees when they're playing their matches, that's a tough environment to play in. Ask Dynamo players; they can tell you exactly what that's like. And Volgograd is right on the river, so it's humid hot. We know all about humid hot. At 93 degrees, humid hot is hot. It is eat through you and burn you from the inside out hot is what that is. But teams that have absolutely outperformed any expectation would be Croatia, Senegal, and there's one other one I can't think of off the top of my head. But those are the two primary ones that come to. Oh, and Mexico. I did not expect Mexico to be in this position right now.
No.
I mean, I expected them to be in position to advance, but I did not expect them to be in position to win this group.
But
nobody did.
You know what's extremely, I think this is the extremely beautiful about the World Cup, the way it's formatted, and also very tedious for the fans of that team, in this case Mexico. The fact that we've scored we've made 6 points. And yet we still are in danger of being eliminated. Yeah. Whereas Argentina, with 4 points, is able to make it to the next level playing horrible.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. And it's all about the group stage draws. And there has always been, at least for the last probably decade or two, there's been some rumors of collusion on the part of FIFA to ensure that certain names were drawn, certain countries were drawn with certain groups. And I don't know how true it is, but it is always interesting to me the teams that end up in the tough groups. Germany, Mexico, along with Sweden. That's a really tough group, and yet it happened. And I think the assumption was Sweden and Germany were going to run away with it, and Mexico wasn't going to make it. But back to what we said at the top of the show, that the lower teams, the lesser teams in the world, are starting to show that they're catching up. That gap is closing. Here's what's really interesting about that. Think about back to the CONCACAF qualifiers, and that's exactly what we saw in qualifying too. Outside of Mexico, your teams that perennial are powerhouses weren't quite as strong as they normally are. And I'm not just talking about just the U.S., but Honduras struggled. They're normally a pretty solid team in CONCACAF.
Costa Rica as well.
Costa Rica, I mean, but you look at how they played in the World Cup. They regressed significantly.
Yeah.
But
it's almost to me like Costa Rica. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like their roster has aged, but there isn't young talent there to replace, and I think that's what may have been the issue in this World Cup.
Similar to Peru. Similar type of situation, I think. Your best players for Costa Rica have kind of hit that mark, that level, and your best players for Peru have kind of hit that level, although they've now found another player, but that's one player. You're not Argentina where you can rely on this one player to win games for you. That's not going to happen if you're Peru. It's just not the same thing. It's just interesting for me to see that gap closing, because I think that gap also is closing internationally, and not just in terms of national teams, but in terms of European competition, in terms of CONCACAF Champions League. We're starting to see those gaps across the world start to close, and I think a lot of that is attributable to social media coverage, being able to find players that are higher talented players at a younger age and a lower price point. You're not having to rely on raiding Real Madrid's academy in order to find the next Messi. You can go find them from a first or second division team in Brazil or in, Argentina or, wherever, that you're not going to be paying an arm and a leg for this kid. Matt Jordan, perfect example of being able to find players that are, lesser name players that aren't coming in with a whole bunch of fanfare, but having your club and, finding players with that talent level to make them into stars.
Yeah.
And so I think we're seeing that more and more across the entire world. And I think that bodes well for soccer's competition level going forward, because when your lesser teams start to be more competitive, it raises the bar everywhere across the world. Now, the flip side of that is, if the U.S. are regressing right now, we're going to struggle to catch back up to that bar, because the bar is now moving away from us. It's not closing in on us. It's moving away.
Yeah.
And the current crop of youth talent is not deep enough to maintain our, not maintain, but to catch up to where we need to catch up to. Don't get me wrong. Pulisic and McKinney and there's another name that escapes me right now. I'm not sold on Weah yet. I think he can be a fantastic player, but I think he's still very raw. There's one more player. Help me out. Come on.
You said Pulisic.
I said Pulisic and McKinney. There's one more. What is his name? I can't think of it. I'll come back to it later. No, not Julian. Get out of here with Julian Green. You are banned from this apartment. No, I'm just kidding.
Seems legit. McKinney or Sargent?
Sargent, yes. Josh Sargent. That's the one. Thank you, whoever was that.
That was Blues.
Blues, thank you,
and
Blues.
Blues also did make this comment. Costa Rica never looked as good as 2014. Age killed them, and their youth isn't ready to make the step up. They played admirably, but the coach that took them there wasn't there.
And so you look at the flip side of that to Nigeria, where they are such a young team now and played as well as they did this group stage in the World Cup, that next World Cup, they're going to be of age and coming into that of age, where for the next 8 years after this, they're going to be good. And that's scary for some other African clubs or other African countries that are used to having dominance in that area. They're going to hold the title for a good 8 years, and then there's no telling what they're going to do in World Cup compared to normal, because they're a very talented, very good offensive, power. If they can just get some of that defensive stuff taken care of, they'll be good.
Yeah.
And it's funny to me because the center back for Nigeria, I don't know his name, Modagun or something like that. Moragun. Look him up, you'll find him.
That is defender.
Starts with an M. Morajun.
Musa? No,
it's not Musa. No, it's not Musa.
Iwobi.
It might start with a W. Something like that.
It is. No, that's a forward.
Read off the defenders to me. I'll tell you which one it is.
Okay. We have Kenneth Omarua.
Omarua. Maybe it's him. Omarua. I don't know. Read the next one. I'll tell you. Sorry.
And then it's Leon Balogun.
Balogun. That's who it is. Balogun. He is a Leonardo clone. The way he runs is sluggish. He just looks sluggish. The way he tries to stop balls is just awkward. And he doesn't have that full physicality to be a strong center back. He's just weird looking as a center back. And so I'm watching it and I'm going, is Leonardo playing for Nigeria? I legit was like, that's not Leonardo. What the hell? Yeah. So anyway, it made me kind of chuckle.
Well, I doubt he'll be back for next World Cup, because he is 29 right now. He'll be going on 33, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna find somebody by that time.
They have to. Yeah, they need to. And they've got young enough players available.
Yeah. So I do also want to see and get your thoughts. Iran and Morocco.
What about them?
Were you surprised by the way?
Good team. Now they're not a round of 16 team. They're one where lower teams put the pressure on better teams. And whether some of that is the result of fans hanging out at hotel rooms or outside the hotel chanting, and the gap is closing. I don't know, but it didn't surprise me to the limit, and it's just a trend. We're starting to see it more and more. And, to the World Cup again. Jamaica made it last time, didn't they? No, they didn't make it. I don't think Jamaica made it last time. I think they were close, but didn't make it. But, we could see another Caribbean team make it, an actual Caribbean team.
Well, they made it to 98.
98, yes. But, think of how long ago that was.
Yeah.
That was a decade ago. That was 5...
That's 20 years ago.
20 years ago. Yeah. 5 World Cups ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, they could viably make it. But all I'm saying is the gap is closing, as you had asked. The gap is closing. And I think it's, like I said, I think it's true across all of world soccer at this point, and not just international soccer, but even club soccer. And, much like the U.S. need to improve, the Dynamo need to improve if they want to continue, if they want to keep up with the rest of the world and the rest of the league and, the rest of the clubs that are kind of improving on their own. With that said, let's go to a break. And when we come back from break, we're going to talk about the news that came out this week about Dylan Remick when we come back. You need me to keep talking.
Yes.
So we're going to talk Dylan Remick, and we're going to talk about the season-ending injury list and what that means both now and going forward. And some things, I did some research today on what that really means and how that all works and what the roster rules are for that. And so we'll go into all that here in just a minute as soon as we get back. And so we're going to break. We'll be back from break in a minute.
Allow me to show you something.
Say you won't leave me. I know it's too easy to run away. To run away. I know you wanted this. I never wanted this to end. But now we're going down. Whoa. Picking up the pieces that we left here. We just left here.
No way of knowing where to go now, go now, go now. Where to go now, go now, go now. No way of knowing where to go. No way of knowing where to go.
And we're back. Oh.
It's all right.
Are you going to do that sound every time we come back?
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. So I don't think we actually did the top of the hour thing appropriately. You're listening to Generation Orange on YouTube, because it's probably our home for a while.
Not that we're complaining.
No. Well, no, not at all. Feels like an upgrade, if I could say that.
That just shows how bad the Sam Broadcaster is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah. Sam Broadcaster sucks. If anybody's looking to get into radio, do not use Sam Broadcaster.
So, want to take advantage, guys, and tell you all that. Be sure to also participate, guys. Be sure to call in.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the phone lines are open. Call in. I know Tinch said he was going to call in from Discord chat. Blues fan said he might call in tonight. Yeah, call in, guys. I know you guys got some takes. We definitely want your takes.
So the number is 956-622-5977. Once again, 956
622
5977.
It's a good thing I know the number too. Yeah, call in, please. We definitely want your calls. And Tinch, you are on the hook, my man, because you said you You said you laid out some stuff in the Discord, so you have to call in. It's like a requirement now.
Yes.
So before we went to break, we said, or I said we were going to talk about the season-ending injury list and what this means and what this has to do with Dylan Remick. So as we all know, Dylan Remick suffered a concussion in the preseason.
Yes.
Which is before the end of the primary transfer window, just in case anybody's curious. And so yesterday. Was it yesterday?
It was yesterday.
Yesterday it was announced that Dylan Remick has been placed on the season-ending injury list. What does that mean for the Dynamo? Number one, what does it mean for Dylan Remick? It means that Dylan Remick will not play again this season for the Dynamo and for no other team. He's basically out of MLS for the rest of the season. His salary is still paid for, so on the positive side, he's not losing any money himself while being injured, and it gives him time to come back at a slower pace, which is good for a concussion. You don't want to rush it, especially if he's still having symptoms. What does this mean for the Dynamo? When you place a player onto the season-ending injury list, as long as the injury was sustained prior to the end of the first primary transfer window, which ended March something, if I'm not mistaken, and as long as you bring in the replacement player on your roster before that date, same before the primary transfer window ends, and as long as that player makes more than $100,000, but less than $250,000 salary, you may then use that as a replacement, and the league will pay for that entire salary. It does not hit your salary budget. So Dylan Remick, if you want to pull up the MLS Players Union salary numbers for March or April or May 2018. So we can look at Dylan's salary. So, yeah, basically we're going to get some kind of roster relief in some way, shape, or form. At the very least, it opens up a roster slot. But I think this was a retroactive move that now that it's been made and now that it's been declared.
Dylan Remick, base salary, $105,000.
$105,000. So he makes just over the threshold, which is perfect. That's exactly how much he needs to make, essentially. So at $105,000, my pencil no worky. So he makes $105,000, $105K. How much does Luis Gil make according to MLS Players Union?
$67,500.
Are there any players at between $100,000 and $250,000 that are not in the starting 11?
Chris Seitz.
Okay, that's one.
How
much? How much does it show that Tyler Derrick is making?
Hold on. Arturo Alvarez is another.
How much is he making?
$150,000.
Okay.
And then you have Leonardo. Oh no, wait, he's.
Yeah. Okay, so Arturo Alvarez and Chris Seitz are both players that could potentially fulfill this requirement of the replacement player for the season-ending injury list. Now, all that means is, again, the league is essentially paying their salary, and that roster slot is over.
For Tyler Derrick,
if he's over 250, just don't even.
He doesn't even come out.
Okay, and that's probably because he's in limbo because of the stuff. Okay, so that's interesting. So basically, most likely, the players that are replacing Dylan, and that would be the only reason they would place him on. Well, that wouldn't be the only reason, but that would be the primary reason that they would place Dylan on the season-ending injury list. You don't have to declare that you're putting the player on the season-ending injury list before the end of the primary transfer window. He just has to have sustained his injury before the end of the primary transfer window, and you have to have had the player that is replacing him before the end of the primary transfer window. And so players such as, like I said, Chris Seitz or like you said, Chris Seitz and Arturo Alvarez could very well fulfill those requirements, which means that we could be getting back the amount of money that we're paying for them. Now, it's not substantial, but it does open a roster slot for another depth player and another depth signing.
Yes.
The July 10th transfer window hits very, very soon, like a week and a half.
We also had some good news in the form that Romel Kyoto got his green card.
He did, so he no longer counts as an international roster slot, which lends even more credence to the idea that we're signing an international signing during this secondary transfer window starting July 10th. No need to cross your fingers. I've been saying it. I've been blaring this trumpet now for 6 months.
You're gonna be like that meme of like the little girls like this, and then the kid behind her just playing the trumpet.
Pretty much. So I've been saying all along the Dynamo are going to sign somebody in the secondary summer transfer window. Been waiting for the secondary summer transfer window to get here so that I could be like, yeah, I'm really positive of that, And so I've been saying it. People have been asking, who are they signing? I continue to say what I've heard, the rumors that I'm hearing, the stuff that I'm hearing points to a South American striker, young kid. I can't say anything more than that. I don't have enough details to go on. And anything I provide will potentially burn sources, and I don't do that. We don't do that on Generation Orange. We respect our sources around here. So just be aware, South American player most likely going to be headed our way very soon. I suspect it does not get done immediately. We're probably talking a week or two into the transfer window, potentially a little longer. Sometimes things get delayed due to parent club waiting a while, the club that currently owns player waiting a while to process things, and or the player's current league waiting a while. All sorts of variables. Or the international
ITC,
the international transfer certificate, the visa process. But even the visa process and the ITC, you can still announce what's going on before then. So we'll know pretty quick once they've concluded and finalized the deal, or close to finalizing the deal, that something's about to happen. I can say no further after that. That's all I can say.
Callow's like, I hear rumors of an aging Englishman.
Wayne Rooney? No, Wayne Rooney is not coming here. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Not only that, he doesn't fit this team at all. I would love to see him running in the Houston Heat, though. We'll get a chance when he signs for DC United. Okay, so that's all I got to say about that. I don't want to dive into the transfer window yet because that's a next week discussion as we get ready to ramp up into the transfer window. And to be fair, I need to do some digging to see exactly how much salary budget, if any, we have left right now.
Yes.
I do know we have DP slots available. I do know that young DPs are extremely inexpensive in the second transfer window. They run you right over 200. A young DP runs like $125,000 on your salary for a young DP for half a season.
So, I guess don't forget, guys, that this Friday is the Dynamo Charities Cup match.
I'm not going.
Between the Houston Dynamo and Rayados de Monterrey.
Rayados. Oh, did you want to go to that match, by the way?
I already requested my
press pass. Good.
Yes.
Okay, good. Cisco, you can have that second ticket. I'm not going. I have no desire to go see that match. I don't. There's nothing in me that wants to see a Charity Cup match. I'm also boycotting this match because it comes at a really inopportune time where our team could use the extra few days to rest up, to be totally honest with you. Now, granted, we're going to play mostly RGV players. I sent you a link earlier today in VS Twitter. Look at your Twitter. So maybe I didn't send it to you. I intended to send it to you.
I don't think you did.
So I did some perusing today through the MLS roster rules. Where is that coming from? Is that me? Is that you? That's okay. That cleared it. Must have been loose cable or something.
Maybe.
So I did some perusing, and I don't know how I'm going to jump from the train. Well, actually, I do kind of. This is a good segue. So MLS roster rules. I looked at the short-term loan stuff for USL agreements because I knew that we wanted to discuss that at some point, and now is a good time to discuss that. And so you would ask me at one point, do you know how long those are for? Are they 1 day, 2 days? They are for 4 days. Up to 4 days is the maximum they can do. And it up to 4 players, and that's it. And it's only 4 players like for an entire season.
Okay.
So they won't be able to bring up a whole lot more after this. Like after that Open Cup one where we brought up like 2 players on that and whatever.
So
now if the player signs an MLS contract, that's different. But players that are brought up and signed, if they sign an MLS contract that's longer than a 4-day contract, if they sign a regular MLS contract, then they can be brought up and back and forth as often as they want.
So that pretty much has Chuy Enriquez, Aldo Quintanilla, Matias Aldivar.
Kyle Adams. No. Was it Kai Green that came? No. Who was it that came up? There was a 4th one.
It was, because Manny Padilla, does he have an MLS contract?
Padilla does, yes.
Okay.
He's on the supplemental reserve roster.
Okay, so I said Chuy, Aldo, Matias Saldivar, John Montaño. I think that's your 4 right there. Because the others were Connor Donovan, who was recently given an MLS contract, Manny Padilla.
Yeah.
And but no. Then it means one of the 4 I mentioned has to have an MLS contract because Omar Ontiveros was also brought up against NTX Rayados.
Now, we say that. However, one of them could have been brought up with that season-ending injury list thing if Matt Jordan pulled it off right. Because there's a way to make that work. Because there's season-ending injury list supplemental player thing. There's an extra side rule for supplemental players. Mm-hmm. It's really crazy. I was reading this going, man, how are you ever supposed to traverse through these roster rules without getting lost? Because that was great. That's exactly how the MLS roster rules are. Thank you, Coaster Things. That was amazing. That was fantastic. But you start going through them and you're like, I'm sorry, what? It doesn't, there's rules for rules and then supplemental rules to those rules. And then we've changed the rule year over year. And then we're going to open up another random roster slot and we're going to call it something fancy, which really just means it's an extra roster slot. And here's the requirements that roster slot has to meet. And there are so many loopholes in MLS roster rules that, and we've seen it with Matt Jordan and the way he works, everything that he works. He finds ways to just do things that we shouldn't be able to do simply because the loopholes are there for us to do it. So why not?
Yeah.
Just I look at the Dylan Remick move and I go, there's more to it than just
he was placed there.
Yeah, it's not like IR where you just place the guy on injured reserve and he's just there to not take up a roster slot. Mm-hmm. There's way more to that move than just that. They're preparing for something. You can see it. You can it's right there in front of you. You can see it. It's like VR. It's right there. If you just stretch your hand out, it's got to be there, but you can't actually touch it. That's how this is. This move hints at something very close. And I think we'll see it come more clearly into view in the next few weeks. And I think it's not going to be something that fans are going to get super excited about, but the hardcore fans that know better are going to be pretty excited by just the tantalizing fact of what's going to happen. So let's see. We've talked World Cup. We've talked injury list. So we're talking Dynamo. I guess we should continue and talk about, oh man, I don't want to talk about this. So I feel your pain in your RGV struggles because the Dynamo this week went to Sporting Kansas City, had a great first half, and then decided to play like RGV in the second half. Basically, they played with no defense, and they went into halftime with a 2-0 lead and surrendered 3 goals in the second half to lose the match. Again, it was in SKC. SKC is a fantastic home team. We shouldn't feel super hard done by that fact, but at the same time,
the way it was played, we had it. Como dijo el perro Bermúdez, la tenía, era suya, la dejó ir, and let it go.
That match changed the moment Leonardo played Leonardo like.
I don't think. All right. One of the things it was a common denominator from a lot of, whether it's Twitter, whether it's the Discord chat, is how Wilmer Cabrera's substitutions cannot seem to hang on to a lead.
Yeah.
It's utterly ridiculous.
On the road. Road. Because we do pretty decent at home, but on the road.
But it's like it's happened, where we have a lead or we're tied or something.
Let me stop you before you go too deep into that. I mean, we've seen other teams in MLS do the same thing. So it's not just a Dynamo problem. It's because teams in MLS attacking power-wise are very good. Stopping an MLS team for an entire 90 minutes from scoring any goals is nearly impossible. There are not many teams that run consecutive clean sheets in this day and age of MLS, which is really interesting to think about because it wasn't that long ago that Dynamo were doing that consistently, and that's how they were able to sustain their dominance for so long. That's not happening anymore. Now you're winning 3-1, 2-1, 5-6. You're winning with astronomical numbers compared to just a few years ago. While it's good for the growth of the casual fan coming into the game because it makes games more entertaining, It is the death knell of your teams that struggle to formulate any attack. Because if you can't score more than one goal, you're not going to win a whole lot of matches. And so if you look across the league, your goal differential and your goals for are a lot higher now than they were 5-6 years ago. So just thought I'd throw that out there. Since you were like, man, we can't hold the lead. Well, that's true across the league. It's not just us. It's not just a Dynamo problem right now.
I don't know. It's like...
Well, the question is, let me ask you this. How do you fix it? If you could answer that, you would have fixed it with RGV. So stop it.
Yeah, but I'm not the coach.
That's fair. That's fair. If he could have stopped it, he would have by now. It's like it's like you have slits on your wrist. How do you stop the bleeding? I mean, you got to apply pressure, and unfortunately at RGV, there's not enough pressure being applied.
Kylo's like, we also lost to the worst defense in MLS history. We lost to them.
Huh?
That was the Calo.
No, I know who said that. What defense is he talking about? He can't be talking about SKC's defense. They've not been that bad this season. They've been pretty solid this season. Not great.
Calo, please.
You need to elaborate, Calo. We are very lost by this statement.
Yeah.
Here's looking at you, Calo.
But, all right. So, let's go ahead and look. So, basically what happened, you had Mauro Manotas had a brace in the first half.
Yeah.
And we started really early. In the second minute, after, I believe it was Opara with the mistake.
Yep, it was Opara.
Yeah. And Mauro Manotas was able to slot it in for the goal early.
Yep.
And it was a lot of Dynamo in the first half.
Yep.
And then,
which is unusual.
The 45th minute, that Mauro Manotas gets this in the second goal. I believe it was DeMarcus Beasley with the assist.
Yes, it was. And that assist, by the way, I know I rag on Bees because of his age and because of his lack of offensive power right now. Mm-hmm. But the getting forward and then his being where he was and getting that assist, that's not an outside back assist. That was a veteran forward assist is what that was. That was a second striker assist. It was that good a quality. I mean, Mauro had the whole goal open to him to shoot at. You don't see that very often, especially against an SKC team. So credit to Bees for that. And that goal didn't have as much to do with Mauro as it did Bees, but it had something to do with Mauro. So because of Mauro's pressure and Bees' pressure. And
then it was a tale of two halves. In the second half, it was all Sporting Kansas City.
Yep. The Dynamo sat back. We talked about this towards early half of the season. The one thing that Wilmer is notorious for doing is when he has a lead of more than one goal and he goes into the second half, he pulls back and he goes into a defensive shape. He's trying to maintain that lead. And we've said it before and we'll say it again. Anytime you come out and you're trying to maintain a lead and not improve the lead, you're coming out for a draw.
Especially if your players are more attack oriented.
Absolutely, because they're playing uncomfortable. They're not playing they're not playing their style.
Yes.
They're playing a style that they're not used to. They're playing kind of out of position, even if you think about it. When you have Elise and Kyoto tracking back, to cover defensively, they're out of position compared to where they really want to be playing.
Yes.
Not only that, you're encouraging the opponent to gain confidence as they're passing that ball around and moving
forward up their lines.
Exactly, and pushing forward and higher, which leaves you deeper and deeper.
And it's interesting because I've already seen like a couple of comments saying, that for us, the Dynamo, our best defense is our offense. If we can continue to get our opponent's defenders worried about defending themselves rather than going up on the attack, then that's what would favor us. Now, obviously, we can't keep up for all 90 minutes because Yeah,
you have to pace yourself.
But
there's pacing.
It's too early in the beginning of the second half to already step back.
You need to be doing that the last 10, 15 minutes of the first half and then like the middle 15 of the second half. Mm-hmm. You need to not be doing it for the entire second half or even to start the second half, because when you do it to start the second half, your opponent is coming out hyped up from their locker room, from meeting together in the locker room and hyping each other up.
Yeah.
And your players were hyped up going into the locker room, and you basically drained them of that hype. So you got to come out in that first 15 minutes and just keep pouring it on.
Yeah, because in the 73rd minute, they brought out Romel Kyoto to bring in Luis Gil. And then in the 81st minute, so 9 minutes to go, we still had a 2-1 lead.
Yep.
You bring in Leonardo to take out Albert Elise.
And shit hit the fan.
And then, right then and there, around the 86th, 85th minute, Sporting Kansas City finds the tie with Diego Rubio. Mm-hmm. And then in the 87th minute, double yellow, red card for Eric Alexander.
Yep.
And then right after, 1 minute later, Kiri Shelton.
No,
with the 3-2.
Eric Alexander had the assist on the second goal. Bees had the assist on the first goal. One or the other. They both had assists in the first half.
Second was
Beasley. Okay, so
first
the first
one was
Alex.
Tomas.
Alexander was credited according to the Dynamo account. Maybe it was a secondary assist to Tomas, but they were crediting it.
Because Google has it as Tomas.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, it could be. I'm just saying. Then again, Google's not always 100% accurate. So
yeah, I'm just going with what I have from front. But the point is, the point is that 9 minutes to go, and yet
the wheels completely fell off.
Yeah. You're talking about 2 goals in 3 minutes.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
And
I have to say that both goals happened right where Leonardo is.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not the first time that's happened. Leonardo is just struggling this season. He really is. And the more he's off the pitch, the better. I will also say this. Who's playing center mid in our upcoming match without Alexander? Because, it's going to be Boney, Tomas, and Saren. Is he back?
I don't think so.
I don't think Saren's back. So we don't even have a center mid. Oh, God. That scares me. Because Arturo's not a defensive player. Luis Gil, maybe? That would make sense. He could play some defense as a deep-lying center mid. I could see that. Luis Gil, Boney kind of playing the CM, DM roles together, and then... But, man, that is not enough defensive cover for your back four. Especially if... Oh, God, please don't start Leonardo.
Cisco brings up a good point about our attack being our best defense, and best example would be the Atlanta United match.
Yeah, absolutely.
We were able to choke Atlanta United for both halves. That they had no idea how to react.
Yeah, they didn't have. They couldn't game plan against it.
Yeah. Whereas now you give them a whole minute to kind of regroup themselves.
Exactly.
And gain confidence.
Gain the confidence, and that's a big thing. If you can take that confidence and take that momentum away from a team for 60, 70 minutes, they might create a little bit of a spurt.
But they'll be more desperate.
They're going to be desperate, which means they're going to leave you opportunities going forward.
Yes.
But if you give them an entire half of that, even being up 2-0, they're going to take their opportunities.
There's a kind of saying in Spanish saying that the 2-0 is el marcador más engañoso. It's very... You become too overly confident with the 2-0.
Yeah, there's a saying in world football: 2-0 is the flimsiest lead, or 2-0 is the cheapest.
That's
lead.
right. Yeah, almost the same
like
thing.
That, yeah.
But so Blues fan says that Saren is stating he was healthy on his Twitter account.
Well, that's good, but healthy doesn't mean he's going to play. Healthy doesn't mean he's match fit.
Yeah,
because
he's been gone for a while.
Of course, we also have Birdman.
He hasn't played that bad.
No, and he played Open Cup well. And so, it's a possibility that he could get that start. He could start for the Charities Cup match, and then we could see him, if he plays well in Charities Cup, he might get that opportunity.
Yeah.
And I'd be okay with that as a DM back there, because I think he can play that role fine. Or at least Boney at DM, him slightly in front of Boney as the CM, that pivot point, or them interchanging. Because when they did that in the Open Cup match, they looked really good paired up together, Boney and Birdman back there, and there was nobody behind them, so it was okay. And then you had Tomas in front of, or not Tomas, you had whoever was playing attacking mid, maybe Memo? No, Memo.
No, it was Arturo.
No, it wasn't Arturo.
No, Arturo was out on the wing.
And Memo was out on the wing.
And Memo was out, and then it was not Tomas.
Was it Luis Gil? It was Luis Gil up top. And so, I don't care who they play there. It's going to be Tomas because that's where he plays. But I would like to see the Boney Birdman pairing there behind whoever the attacking mid is, because that has worked, and so why not try it again? It's better than your alternatives right now, which are not good.
Yeah, and that gives Eric Bird, more actual minutes of MLS play.
More minutes than Charlie Ward will get.
I'll see you. How's it over there in San Antonio, Charlie?
Yeah. All right, so it's top of the hour. Let's go ahead and go to another break, and then we'll come back from the break, and we're going to talk about. You know what? When we come back from the break, we're going to talk Dash for a little bit, and then we'll go RGV Express, and then we'll close it out, hopefully with a call, because the phone lines are open. If you want to call in, it's 956
622-5977.
Thank you. 956
622-5977.
The phone lines are open, so please call. And Cisco, I know you're driving, but you can call in. If you need us to text you the number, just say so in chat.
All right.
Then we'll go to break.
Paint me red in this light that isn't mine, finding every reason you can find to question my love. Remember that it's not me, I was never the one who broke your heart. We both know I've been gentle from the start. So though the questions keep on coming this time, you know that I'll listen, you know I'll be patient with you, you're my baby. Maybe this time you'll know you can trust me, you'll know I'll be faithful to you, you're my baby. I was never cheating, you connected dots that weren't there. You gave attention to the thoughts I never wear. It's not my style, even though it's so clear to me. You shouldn't base the future on the past. I know you really want this thing to last. So though the questions keep on coming this time, you know that I'll listen, you know I'll be patient with you, you're my baby. Maybe this time you'll know you can trust me, you'll know I'll be faithful to you, you're my baby. I don't wanna fight now, you're barking, you bite now, to prove that I'm right now, that you lost your sight now. I'm holding it tight now, can't see through the night now, to show you my light now, to paint these walls white now. I don't wanna fight now, you're barking, you bite now, to prove that I'm right now, that you've lost your sight now. I'm holding it tight now, can't see through the night now, to show you my light now, to paint these walls white now. So though the questions keep on coming this time, you know that I'll listen, you know I'll be patient with you, you're my baby. Maybe this time you'll know you can trust me, you'll know I'll be faithful. So though the questions keep on coming this time, you know that I'll listen, you know I'll be patient with you, you're my baby. Maybe this time you'll know you can trust me, you'll know I'll be faithful to you, you're my baby. 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 I don't wanna fight now, you're barking, you bite now, to prove that I'm right now, lost your sight now. I'm holding it tight now. Can't see through the night. How to show you my light now. To paint these walls white now.
And we're back. You're listening to Generation Orange, a Houston soccer podcast. We go live every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central on YouTube. Yo.
Guys, come on, guys. We want one call. That's all we ask. One.
Don't make Edson get down on his hands and knees to beg, because that would be really awkward. Before we went to break, we said we were going to talk Dash. So, a couple of things. As we mentioned last week, Sofia Huerta was traded.
She's mine, Cisco.
Oh, he's still crushing on Kristen Press. But Sofia Huerta's here, and you know what? I think she's going to be a fantastic, hopefully long-term Dash player. It'd be nice to have a couple of those besides Kalia Ohai. And I think she fits this team pretty well. Something that I was a little confused by was why Mana didn't play, Mana Shim. I think that there's a bit of chemistry there between her and a couple of the other midfielders. Mm-hmm. And I think that I think there could have been more. There could have been good things that happened, better things that happened than what took place. But Vera is gonna Vera, and that's all I'm gonna say about that.
So they played they hosted Portland Thorns.
Yes, they did.
And
they hosted them. That's exactly what they did. They served them dinner on a silver plate, and they said, "Here, what would you like for dessert?"
Here, you can go ahead and sit down and put your feet on the table.
Here's access to our vault. Feel free to order any alcoholic beverage you would like. We will give you the keys to the kingdom because we're not running the establishment. What was that final score? 3-0?
3-1.
3-1. Oh, they did. We scored. That's good.
Yes,
who scored their goal?
And Sofia Huerta.
Oh, of course. I should have known that. So I'm sure, Sofia's settling in, which is good to see. She's already comfortable, which is good to see. But there's still more improvement that obviously needs to be made. Now, to be fair, Portland Thorns are a great team, but you're at that part of the season where losses are killing you.
Yes.
And I believe at this point, even though there's still a mathematical chance that we could make the playoffs, I think we're out of the playoffs for the 4th season in a row.
Well, that's just great. Okay, so here's the standing so far in the NWSL.
And remember, the top 4 teams make it.
So you have in first place North Carolina Courage.
That's not a surprise to anybody.
33 points.
Yep.
Followed by Orlando Pride with 22 points.
Uh-huh.
And then Seattle Reign with 19 and Portland Thorns with 19. Chicago Red Stars with 19 points. Utah Royals with 17 points. And then the Houston Dash, 14 points. Washington Spirit with 10 points. And last and certainly the least, Sky Blue FC with 2 points.
I mean, at least we didn't get the whatever the heck NWSL calls their last place award. But at the same time, I expect more improvement year over year. And right now, we're literally the Houston Texans of the NWSL right now. We're that mediocre team that really just never strives and gets any better than we already are. And that's just frustrating. You have the talent to do it. There's no question about that. There's never been a question about the talent on the team. Mm-hmm. Well, I say that. Hal Kaiser would probably beg to differ. And we do need to get him on. I think I'm actually holding him until probably right after the season, right after that point where we are officially declared out of the playoffs, so I can get his unfettered, unbridled, passionate response to everything.
Yes.
Because Hal, when he is frustrated and willing to share, will share. And it will be gloriously wonderful YouTube video to watch. And I'm just looking forward and shout out to Hal, shout out to Jen for their coverage of the Dash, as best that they can do, I got to put together the Keeper Note show again this week, Mixed Zone again this week, the Mixed Zone Retro Cast because she's out in Russia right now, which by the way is the coolest thing ever, so that should actually go up tomorrow if it's not already up tonight. So that's really cool. And there's a good couple of chats in there, really good couple of chats in there to listen to. It's the Mix Zone, so you should support women's soccer wherever you can, and that's a great way to do it. Yeah. Hey, so there is a women's Houston women's team, professional soccer team that's actually doing pretty decent. The Houston Aces.
All right. What do you have to say about the Aces?
That's all I had to say. They're doing pretty decent compared to the Dash. But that bar has been set so low. What do you expect?
So now that you mention it, let me go ahead and just kind of...
Yeah, pull up the WPSL.
Sure. WPSL standings.
See.
The Houston Aces right now.
They're in what, like 4th or 5th?
2018. They are that's the Heartland Conference, Southwest Conference. South Texas Conference. No, wait.
Maybe they're not in the WPSL. Maybe they're in some other. No, they've got to. Maybe it's the WUSA. Why don't you just Google Houston Aces?
Yeah, they're in the UWS.
UWS, that's right. United Women's Soccer.
All right. And so right now in the UWS, the Houston Aces are in the Southwest.
Mm-hmm.
They are first place.
First place. Oh, see, yeah.
4 wins out of 4 games.
Yep, 4-0-0. You would think that, maybe the Houston Dash should take notice and go, maybe there's some players on this roster that can actually play. Because
they're already here.
Yeah, exactly. And they're already, not only that, but they're used to playing in the Houston humidity.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I would love to get a superstar here, I'm kind of over the whole superstar thing. Carly Lloyd and Kristen Press. I'm over the superstar thing. Bye-bye, superstars.
If they're just going to be acting like little prima donna divas,
I mean, look, if we're going to have the underdog players, the players that have to work harder than everybody else, the players that have that, if we've got to have the players that are the Wolverines, the Alyssa Chapmans, the Kalia Ohais, if you will, the Sofia Huertas, the players that are not the name players in the league, because we're just not going to get the bigger players because of the city, because of the heat, humidity, and everything else, then so be it. Okay, I'm fine with that. But if we're not going to get those players, then stop trying to go after those players and start building me a roster that can actually compete, and it has nothing to do with the players on the pitch.
Yeah. So right now the Aces, like I said, they played 4 games. First game they played ASA El Paso, which they won 9-0.
That's close.
Then they played at North Texas Image. They won 4-0. Mm-hmm. They played FC Austin Elite, won 7-0. And then they visited El Paso again and won 7-1. So they are.
So they've given up 1 goal.
Yes.
In 4 games.
So they're completely dominating their conference so far in the UWS. So
all I'm saying is, look, if you're going to go support the Houston Dash, why not also support the Houston Aces? They can definitely use the support. And look, they're a winning franchise. That says more about them than it ever will about the Dash.
And leading scorer for the Aces is Gisela Arrieta with 7.
And then who's their leading assist maker?
That is. Hold on a minute. Assist. There's 2 with both of them with 1 assist, and that is Tatiana Ariza and Julie Camp. It's very interesting, yes.
So who are their defenders? Because maybe they could come help the Dash actually play defense.
It doesn't say.
Doesn't list them by position.
No.
Oh, dang it.
Would be interesting.
It would be.
Actually, I can actually.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about
it. There's only 2: Jennifer Laponte and Shauna Pierre.
Interesting. So yeah, I mean, just in summary, Houston Aces doing really well. Houston Dash doing really not well. And it's a consistent trend at this point. I mean, I was willing to give them the first 2-3 years. Yes, this is Vera's first year. Yes, it's going to take time for the team to gel. But we saw the team gel. We saw that take place. And then we saw this. Like, there was a significant regression. And it's kind of like what's happening with RGV. I've seen instances where I'm kind of like, this is not on the players. It's not just about the players at this point. There's something else here that needs to be dealt with. And I'm wondering if maybe there's possibly, and I've said this a few times, there needs to be a front office change. And it needs to be something at the very top, because that continues to be the one consistent thing across all of the clubs, across all of the leagues, that continues to be an issue, and continues to be the one glaring, it's the one common denominator between all these struggles and all these issues. And it's not the ownership. Look, the ownership is fine. You can have ownership that doesn't spend a lot of money. That's fine. Look at the Premier League. There are teams that don't spend a lot of money. Sure, they're not in the top 5. That's okay. I'm not looking for necessarily a top 5 finish. I just want to be competitive week over week. And don't get me wrong, we are with the Dynamo, not with the Dash. I need at least the playoffs with the Dash at some point. Leicester City, they didn't do that great this season, but what they did was they won the championship the year before. If you're going to be that team that has those type of players, you got to win it at least every once in a while, or at least compete for it. At this point, we're not even competing for it. We're not even coming close to competing for it. You know, we're at the bottom. We're in the bottom half of the table, and not even half the teams make it. And that's just bad. That's just sad. And, you know, like I said, I mean, I'm hearing things, and it concerns me. You know, I'm hearing things from players, and I have to wonder if Vera's really the right person for this job, and if she is, then, and I think that she can be, but I think Eddie Robinson was pretty much the kind of clue that, hey, there's something really wrong with this organization. You brought in a guy that's already said that he's basically anti-hate. You know, I don't like the fact that the girls are, you know, tired after, you know, towards the end of a match. I'm sorry, excuse me? That's going to happen. You know, you're playing 90 minutes in heat and humidity, and
I mean, what does he expect them to be, machines or what?
I mean, yeah. So, you know, and look at what Rachel Daly did. She put her body on the line. She put her health on the line to keep going, and she collapsed on the pitch.
Seeing pictures of that just makes me cry.
Oh, I mean, it's gut wrenching, because that's a very serious thing, and she did it because that's just how she's conditioned, and I expect more out of the clubs that I support than to promote that kind of mentality.
Yeah.
There should be no pushing through it when it comes to that sort of thing. That's like telling somebody with a concussion to push through it. They'd be like telling Dylan Rebeck, I'm sorry, I know you got a concussion, I know you got concussion symptoms, but you get your butt back out there. No, I'm not going to support that. And so I need to see a change, and it needs to not be another coach. It needs to not be a different GM. It needs to not be another assistant coach. And it definitely needs to not be ex-Dynamo players taking over Dash responsibilities. I'm tired of that. Absolutely tired of that. It's time for Chris Kennedy to go. I'm done. I've reached the end of my rope. Matt Jordan, Wilmer have proven that it's not Dynamo. There have been instances where we've seen it with the Dash where it's not the Dash. It's the guy running all three organizations. It's time for him to go. And I don't like saying that because he's a good guy, but at some point, it's just got to happen. Kennedy out. Let's go to break. I'm just kidding. 7 minutes till that happens. Ow.
You're good out there. You don't have to break everything.
That hurt. Okay, so that's my Dash rant. I don't really have anything else on my list to talk about until we come back from break. So let's do this. We're going to talk RGV Express in the second half of this hour, and then we're going to talk just whatever we want to discuss. I want one phone call. You have 5 minutes to air out your hot take, and I'll give you longer if you want longer. I just want a phone call. It can be Victoria. It could be your dad. It could be Cisco's mom. It could be Callow. It could be Tinch. It could be Blues fan. I don't care if he wants to talk Chelsea. I will swallow my pride and talk Chelsea. By the way, Victor Moses today looked like trash. Hashtag Chelsea out. I want to call somebody, anybody. The phone lines are open. I don't care if you don't even want to talk soccer. Like that's how I'll go there.
That's how desperate you are.
I wouldn't say desperate, but I'll go there. I'll open the door for talking any other sport as long as it's Houston sports. I'll open the door for it. But you got 5 minutes. So if you have a hot take, it could be Texans for all I care. It can be the Rockets. By the way, James Harden announced his NBA MVP yesterday. Pretty awesome. Yes. We thought he deserved it. There was no question in my mind he deserved it compared to everybody else. But there's always questions.
Didn't the general manager also get an award?
Yes, he got NBA Executive of the Year, which is good because he deserved it because the Rockets were the best team in the league this season, at least when it came to the regular season. Total different story in the postseason. However, they were the second best team in the league in the postseason because they were still better than Cleveland. At least they took the Warriors to 7 games. Mm-hmm. Cleveland could not even do that. Hashtag Bron.
Hashtag LeBron to Houston confirmed.
No, that's probably not actually going to happen at all.
I'm just...
I'd love it to, but that's not going to happen. Okay.
Well, I heard something along the lines that CP3 is willing to get a pay cut in order to...
Oh, absolutely not. No, he's not taking a pay cut. He's already said, I'm not taking a pay cut.
Yeah, good.
He doesn't need to. Tillman will pay the money. The money's not the issue. LeBron just has to be willing to come here. We'll see if it happens.
Yeah, because it's either here or L.A.
There's a couple other possibilities, too.
Come on, my phone is still dry.
The number is 956
622-5977.
The number, again, because apparently you're not hearing me. Or him.
956-622-5977. El número para marcar es 956-622-5977.
And we will take Spanish calls. I will open the phone line to Spanish calls, and it can be a RGV call. I know we have a few people that do listen from the RGV. It can be an RGV call, and they can rant about their RGV frustrations and RGV independence. And you would think that they would be on the Canetti out bandwagon. You would think. Yeah.
So Callow's take is she's not.
No, you're not allowed to read it. He's got to call it in.
Come on, Callow.
Unless come
on, Callow.
Unless he's working or he's bowling. Those are the only two passes he gets tonight.
Come on, guys.
Somebody, anybody. This makes for an awkward show, guys, if you don't call in. I'm just saying. So also, just a reminder while we wait for somebody to call in, because I just know somebody's going to call in at this point. Just a reminder, we will be starting our Down in the Valley streaming channel very soon, gaming streaming channel. And now that my desktop is fixed and yours is not, just kidding. Now that my desktop is fixed, I can actually play games too.
Yes.
So we're going to be setting that up here in the next couple of weeks, and you guys can tune in for that. And we will be playing FIFA for sure. That's definitely one of the games, and some racing games, and
Rocket League.
I'll be playing some MMO stuff. Rocket League will probably happen at some point. Just all sorts of stuff. Whatever we can find to play, we'll play.
You get.
He's gonna cry, guys. You're gonna make him cry. Look, I'm looking at the camera. Only you can prevent Edson from crying. No, that's fine. We'll go ahead and go to break now then. That just means that somebody needs to call in the last 30 minutes. And it's going to happen. I feel like we're going to get a call. I don't know who it's going to be. But we'll go ahead and go to break. When we come back from break, we'll take a call, hopefully. And if not, then we'll just keep talking, and, Edson will continue to cry. It'll be all good. With that, we're going to break. We'll be back.
Do you need me the way I miss you? 'Cause I can barely. You're the one I can't deny. I wanna take you sky. Take you sky. Review, you had in review me. Stuck in the review, you had in review me. Do you need me the way I miss you? 'Cause I can barely. You're the one I can't deny. I wanna take you sky. Take you sky. Review, you had in review me. Stuck in the review, you had in review
Yeah, times are rough, this time I see it too. All this bullshit drama, I can see right through. Everybody wants something they can't have, so they gon' put it on you. Wherever you go, yeah, you can take me there. Over the ocean, I can see us there. Let's run away and be forever young. We'll catch the sun where there's no need to run. Wherever you go, yeah, you can take me there. 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 I see you, and you see me too. We may be broke, but we see the truth. All this bullshit drama, I can see right through. Everybody wants something they can't have, so they gon' put it on you. Wherever you go, yeah, you can take me there. Over the ocean, I can see us there. Let's run away and be forever young. We'll catch the sun where there's no need to run. Wherever you go, yeah, you can take me there. Yeah, you can take me there. Yeah, you can take me there. Yeah, you can take me there.
Sorry about that, guys, and welcome back to RGV Express. And no, nobody has called in yet. So
Come on, guys, call in.
come on. So, anyways, right now we're in RGV Express, and this past weekend, RGVFC played against Phoenix Rising FC, and they tied 0-0 against a team that is second in the Western Conference, and not only that, but had accumulated 7 goals in 2 games. And so they're able to keep a clean sheet against them. However, in typical RGV fashion, no outlook. In typical RGV fashion, they weren't able to score. And he had so many missed opportunities by Matias Aldivar. Aldo Quintanilla just couldn't find a connection with either Chuy Enriquez or Bryce Marion. He was actually really well defended against. Bryce Marion, though, this game, he was played as a winger, and he looked decent out there. He looked good. So it's going to be, it might be, we might see him as the starting winger for next season, if not now, if either Zach Wright, who has not come up in a while, or John Montaño, who definitely has not come up at all this season, get their act together. Another starter that made a surprise, start per se, Michael Nelson. So Michael Nelson came back after an injury, and according to the post-game press conference, he does mention that had it not been for that injury, he would have played a lot more games with RGV, which leads me to believe that Michael Nelson was probably RGV's number one choice with goalkeeper had it not been that.
Does that really surprise you?
No.
And that does make me wonder if RGV would have been better this season with him in goal versus a Nico Cordy or their other has-been goalkeeper.
Matt Sanchez.
Whose name I'm not. I was about to say I'm not even going to give him the opportunity to have his name said because he just played that badly this year.
And so he does mention that sometimes it can be a little difficult since he does train with the Dynamo. But he mentions
that's part of being a professional, though.
Yeah.
And I think Michael, if out of any player that I've seen that's gone down to RGV, other than Memo, and Padilla, and Michael has shown to me that he's willing to be that professional player that's like, look, I'll do whatever you want me to do. I want to get better. Yeah, he does. And then he does mention, obviously, like, it's good for him, to be finally being able to play with RGV. Due to the fact that the last game he actually played was back in preseason. Yeah.
So that is a long time. So he's like,
Dylan Remick.
he says, I want to shake off a little bit of this rust, and I felt really comfortable here.
Clean sheet is definitely shaking that rust.
Because I think my question Ray's question to him was more along the lines of how were you able to, for example, to transition into with the squad? Was it a simple process, or is it still a lot of things to get used to since you haven't really
there hasn't been a lot of time with the squad itself.
Yes,
yeah,
and he says that it's because he trains a lot with the Dynamo. It's but he maintains communications with RGV as well as when he's over there. He maintains a lot of communication here with the Dynamo. So he's got that. He has that constant bridge between both.
That's the first time I've ever actually heard a player say that. That's good to know.
Yes,
and that's actually good to hear. Because that to me signals that the Dynamo at least are trying to help RGV improve to some extent.
I think there are a lot of little hints here and there, and I think they're trying, like, they probably learned from last season.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to make things better. For starters, also as well, Connor Donovan, he's not being used here. He's being sent back down and played as a starter.
There you go.
That's a lot better than last year's predicament.
Yeah.
But
again, it all centers around injuries, right?
Yes.
Senderos is now back so that the Dynamo can afford to send him back. I said to you last week, I really wish they would have sent Leonardo down and kept Donovan up because at least Donovan can play defense. Wow. But that would have hurt RGV's chances. So, maybe it's better that Donovan goes down because at least he can help them win.
Or at least not lose.
Only when he's not scoring own goals.
The shade right there.
I mean, that's still more goals than Leonardo has.
Well, yeah, then that's true.
That's not a good thing.
But another thing that kind of worries me, obviously, is the attack.
Yeah.
Just the fact that, like, for example, Matias Olivar, he tries to take shots from outside the box, but they all go like way up high or way out wide.
Yeah.
And he actually had a couple of one-on-one opportunities that also went wide. So
the question that comes from that, though, is that the player trying to show he has the confidence to shoot, or is that a coaching tactic saying, hey, when you get an opportunity to shoot, go ahead and take a shot? That's a question that needs to be asked. Is that a tactical decision or is that a player decision?
It could have been a really good question for either Gerson or for Matias Saldívar.
Yeah,
because,
one of the two. Because and to be fair,
but I feel it might be something personal with Matias Saldívar because he's the only one that actually dares to try to shoot from outside. Everybody else just tries to either cross it in.
Unless your name is Jorginho James.
Yeah, but then again, from what I've heard, his clock is running out.
Yep.
With RGV,
which is sad because he's a good player.
Yeah. So and the other
next San Antonio player.
And the other player who's what I've been told, rumors, is whose time is also running out, Kai Green.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can tell just the fact, like in this game, he only played 2 minutes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So that just goes to tell me that there's something that.
And they're starting Bryce Marion. I mean, not Bryce Marion. They're starting who is it? Padilla?
It's Padilla or Bryce Marion.
Yeah.
And
now, to be fair, I mean, they're good enough to push him. He's still better than they are. But if he's not fitting into the way that the Dynamo system want to play, then yeah, he's not going to.
I think the biggest concern, what I've been told, is the fact that that yes, Kai Green can be good defensively, but his play style is trying to carry the ball. But that's where his problem is because he loses the ball really easily.
He's not good in possession.
Yes,
makes sense.
And so ever since last year, they're trying to get him to work on that, and there hasn't been a lot of improvement. So they then probably the Dynamo feel that maybe you're not fit to move up to the Houston Dynamo.
Yeah. If you're not going to bring, I mean, especially now he's got Lundqvist in front of him. He's got.
AJD when he gets back.
AJD when he gets back in front of
Wenger.
Wenger in front of him when he gets back. I mean, he's got players in front of him that he's not going to beat out at this point.
No.
And so, his opportunities are slowly dwindling. And, even with AJD having an injury, the Dynamo still saw fit to go bring in another player that's making $400,000, which, by the way, is under the DP threshold. Yes. DP threshold this year is $505,000. I looked that up too because I was curious. Or $525. It's $525 this year, which is really a lot of freaking money.
So, right now, RGVFC is in second to last in the Western Conference, with only. Let me get you that. Okay, how do I get out of this? Okay, all right. They're in 16th place. They've played 15 matches and they only have 11 points. The next game that they play there's no game this week. It's until next week where they will actually host the Tulsa Roughnecks, who are currently in last place in the Western Conference. So, the way I see it is, I don't know. Wait, actually, they go to St. Louis. They go to St. Louis this weekend. So that's and St. Louis right now is in 9th place. So they're in that threshold of mid-table.
Yeah.
And then they come back and host the Tulsa Roughnecks on July 7th. And if they don't beat Tulsa,
you're looking for at least 4 points out of those two matches.
Yes.
At least 4, if not 6.
Yes.
Okay. Helping clarify.
It's come to the point of the season where you cannot lose any more points.
I'm pretty sure that point in the season has already passed.
Yeah. So
they're almost to the point where mathematical elimination is getting close. Yeah.
Yeah. Because right now, 8th place has 23 points, and that's Colorado Springs Switchback. So we're 12 points away.
Yep.
Which is
you'd be but the thing is you have to keep this in mind. You'd have to hope that they lose 4 matches that you win, while simultaneously you continue to keep pace with their rest of their record.
Yes.
And that's just to catch them. That's not to surpass them.
And then got to see what St. Louis or San Antonio do.
Exactly, because there's so many teams in front of you right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not hopeless, but it's getting there pretty quick. And you talked about this on the show on Down in the Valley, which airs every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central on YouTube as well, on the Down in the Valley YouTube channel.
Which you already are if you're listening to us.
You talked about
hey, what's up, Gabe?
You talked about how we had that question that came from Cisco last week on our show on Generation Orange about whether it was coaching or the talent level. You guys talked about that, and I continue to come back. It's the same thing that I keep coming back to with not with the Dash, but the same thing I keep coming back to and kept coming back to with the U.S. men's national team is, that there's enough talent there. There's enough depth there to be able to win games, but you're not. And it's not just one thing, but the easiest fix is the coach at this point.
But see, here's it. So I asked the same question, if you recall, to Jacob.
Yeah.
His answer was, it's the talent. There's not as much talent now compared to 2016, and you see it with the fact with Matias Aldivar, shooting haywire. And so and then from what the environment, after the game, where people were like, they're kind of, I guess you can see now they're seeing that, hey, you know what, these players just aren't cutting it, kind of thing. And so
it's the question of, is it the talent or is it the connection of that talent? Because Quintanilla is good enough. There's no question about that. Mm-hmm. Kai Green is good enough. There's no question about that. Connor Donovan is good enough. There's no question about that. Kyle Adams is good enough. There's no question about that. Todd Wharton is good enough. There's no question about that. Padilla is good enough. There's no question about that. Bryce Marion is good enough. There's no question about that. Do I need to keep going on? My point is, the talent is there. The talent of the players themselves, on paper, it is there. The difference is the talent on the pitch is not there. Talent on the pitch is not always going to equal your talent on paper.
Just ask Argentina.
Just ask New York Red Bulls back when they brought in
Henry?
No, not Henry.
Marcus.
Marquez, Rafa. When they brought in Rafa, and suddenly you had the New York Red Bulls circus of creatures. I don't even know what to call that thing. I mean, it was a complete disaster. So you can have talent on paper, and that's what RGV have. They have a ton of talent. They really do. Their players are good enough to play for other teams. They are. They're good enough to play for other teams, which means they're good enough to play. They're good enough to compete in USL. The problem is when you get all those players on the pitch together, whatever that connection is, whatever the chemistry is, it's gone. It's not there. They're not linking up well. We saw in that one preseason match that first team that came out, they weren't linking up well. And then what happened? As soon as you got a few different players on the pitch, suddenly it was an entirely different team. Mm-hmm. The passing was crisp. It was, one-touch passing here and there.
But see, it's like Chuy Enrique said last week. It's like, it's time to stop putting in as an excuse like, oh, well, we're a new team, this and that. We're 15 games into the season, and those are exact words from Chuy Enriquez. No. I'm not saying this.
I know. And I'm not saying it has anything to do with, the team needs time to gel. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying sometimes teams don't gel. Sometimes it's not that the players aren't good enough. It's that they're not figuring it out together. It's that some players
Do you think everybody's on a different wavelength?
Not everybody, but I think a lot of players are on a different wavelength right now. I think some of that is defensive. Clearly, it's
so one of the things that was kind of mentioned after the post game conferences, and that has to do a lot with in the game against Portland Timbers 2. Is he does mention, like, for example, in that specific case, the play before the goal, there was a corner kick, and so he was Coach Echeverri was trying to get the attention of I believe it was Aldo Quintanilla, to get close to his mark to his mark,
closer to his
closer,
marker.
Yes. Yeah. And so what happens in that play? Gave him so much space, and just allowed the attacker to head it in, with ease.
Yeah.
And so it's just these mental mistakes.
Well, and one thing you brought up, and this is important because this is what the Dynamo suffered from for a while, and I don't know how Wilmer changed it because it's not something that just changes. It's something that requires something to change. Is that it's not, it's not that. Because a lot has been made about, okay, what is Gerson doing, with his substitutions, kind of like Wilmer. What is Gerson doing with subs? What is he changing tactically first half versus second half? All these questions. But at the end of the day, there's the question of, is he making decisions? I mean, it's not so much about his decision making and his tactics, but are the players adopting his tactics? Are the players accepting what he's trying to get them to do?
So I think you mentioned it when I got back from McAllen, and you brought up a really good point where you mentioned that he has to earn the respect of his players.
Absolutely.
Because he's a newcomer to professional soccer. He has no reputation of his own.
And I will say this: it's harder to do that with younger players than it is to do with older players. Mm-hmm. So a team with more veteran attackers, you wouldn't have that issue because the veteran attackers know how to, they understand.
And I think that's what we need.
And
but the Dynamo have no intentions of doing that.
And I think that's important. We can bring that up because it's a Dynamo show. It's an interesting part of the partnership that, and Dynamo fans have been saying this for a while, that RGV fans need to keep in mind that the Dynamo, the reason they control that is because, or the reason why things are the way they are is because it's the Dynamo look at it as a farm feeder team, and they're looking for player development first and then competitiveness second. They're not looking for a competitive team if it's not going to feed them players. And that's the Dynamo's right. They're the daddy organization. They're allowed to do that. And on that regard, I completely understand RGV fans' frustration because they were sold a bill of goods. They were told, oh, that's not going to be how it's going to be. We're going to be competitive year over year. We're going to get great players, blah, 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 blah. And I feel like from conversations that I've had with various people and listening to your show and just reading what people are saying on Twitter and things like that, there's some question about, in RGV front office personnel would prefer to have total control because they want to bring in players that they want to bring in. The Dynamo don't want that to happen because it's not going to benefit them. And, I feel like there's almost this, the RGV front office wanted things to be a specific way, but the Dynamo never gave them an indication it was going to be that way. And they kind of got it in their head that it was going to be that way. And now they want to parade around that the Dynamo aren't working with us, maybe not in those exact words, but the Dynamo are out for the Dynamo. They're not going to help us. They're going to get whatever players are better for them. Those kinds of things. When, again, if you come in and, we talked about this with Greg Luca a couple of weeks ago. If you come in telling everybody this is a team that's going to be feeding players to the Dynamo, that's their first priority. It's a completely different marketing scheme than going out there and saying we're going to be a competitive USL team year over year. We're vying for the championship. You're not vying for the championship. Not currently. You're vying for the playoffs, if anything. You're trying. That doesn't mean you can't win the championship. But it's a different mentality. It's a different mentality for fans. It's a different mentality for the organization from a marketing, from a front office standpoint. And I think that's where the disconnect has come from.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
And I know we've beat that dead horse into the ground and then 6 feet under.
And it's funny because it just keeps coming back like Red Dead Undead.
Well, but doesn't actually come out until 2022.
No. You're talking about Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, you're right.
No, Red Dead Undead is the zombie a special edition of Red Dead Redemption 1.
Oh, was it really? So
yeah.
I didn't know about that. Which you will probably get to see live via stream format eventually at some point.
Probably not, because that wasn't available for PC.
It was available for Xbox, right?
Yeah, regular Xbox. I don't have that anymore.
I could make it happen. I'm just saying.
I think I still have that disc in McAllen.
All right. That'd be fun. Just for kicks and giggles. But no, I mean, the reason it keeps coming up is because there's still so much frustration over it. Mm-hmm. Both at RGV and with the Dynamo, because Dynamo fans are tired of hearing RGV fans gripe about it. RGV fans are tired of being frustrated about it and not seeing anything change and feeling like they can't do anything.
And I'm tired of coming up with excuses and making up excuses to why they're they're not playing like they should.
Absolutely, and you're not wrong. Some of that falls on the players. It absolutely does.
Because
the players aren't performing as they should. They're not adopting what they need to adopt. Regardless of, even if it is the coach, regardless if it's the coach, at some point as a professional player, and these are professional players playing a game for money, they are professionals, you have to stop and you have to go, it doesn't matter what the coach, how bad the coach is. And the coach is not bad, but it doesn't matter how bad his tactics are, how much we disagree with his tactics. We're professionals. We need to shut up and put it on the pitch. If we don't like what he has to say and we don't agree with his tactics, then let's go out, let's play our style. And if if we can go out and beat another team playing our tactics, then keep doing it. You see it in the Premier League. You see it in Europe all the time where teams who don't agree with their coach's philosophy will go out and play their own style and completely ignore their coach. It happens. And they'll play fine.
But the problem is we don't have a veteran leadership that I think it'll in that kind of way.
Well, you do. You have a Todd Wharton. You do. You have players in the middle of the pitch that can be those leaders. You have players at center back that can be those leaders. The problem is that not everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, so I think that what needs to be worked on, if this is the case, because I really don't want to say this is what's going on and it not being, and then come to well, why are you talking stuff? From what we're analyzing, we feel like this might be the problem with RGV.
Yeah.
So that needs to be worked on. Make sure everybody's on the same page.
And that's the big thing. Everybody needs to get on the same page. And I don't know how you do that. I don't.
I mean,
if I heard that from somebody else, whatever, it doesn't matter. What I have seen on the pitch tells me, that's all I need to know. I wouldn't need to hear that from somebody else. I wouldn't need to hear it as a rumor. I know this is the case. There's no question in my mind that this is the case. Because you can see it on the pitch. You can see it in how they interact with one another. There's not that connection. There's not that camaraderie. I don't know what's missing, but they got to figure it out. And if they don't figure it out this season, then some players are going to be gone. There's no question about that.
Oh, no. What was been said going around, they are looking already, and that they're looking for players that they can bring in, that they might be bringing in with this transfer window. Obviously, it all depends on the Dynamo, but the Dynamo are looking because Matt Jordan was in the RGV all of last week.
Well, that kind of tells you something, though, doesn't it? Right?
Yeah.
Matt Jordan's down there. He knows there's a problem. He knows that there's something missing, and RGV fans can say the Dynamo don't care, but that says everything you need to know about how much the Dynamo care. This is right before a huge transfer window. They're sending him down there. That's a big deal. He could be out on a scouting trip somewhere else for a week, scouting players for the Dynamo. But instead, he's spending a week with not only the staff, but the players at RGV. That says something. That's important information because it changes the perception of the fact that the Dynamo don't care. So I hope you bring that up on your show.
Oh, I'm bringing it up tomorrow.
Okay. That's good because I'm going to be here and I'm going to listen. I may not be sitting here. I may be over there playing games, but I will listen.
So be sure tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central, of course. Down in the valley, we'll go live. It'll be me or Jacob Young and I. We will be talking about more about the Phoenix game, what we saw. We'll talk about against the game against St. Louis FC. We'll also talk about some rumors that have been coming up.
Any player interviews from post-match interviews or anything?
Yes, we do. We do have a couple of them, as well as with Jerson Echeverry.
Nice.
Like I said, some rumors about what might happen in the future. So be sure to tune in tomorrow, 7 p.m. on YouTube. If you guys aren't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe. Should be down there, the subscribe button, as well as, there we go.
Hit the like and share button as well while you're doing it.
As well as while we're on the subject, I'll go ahead.
And also, I'm sad and disappointed with every one of you who's tuned in who hasn't called in this week. Although I'll give you a pass if you had work or if you were busy.
Callow had work, so
Yeah, and like I said, that was one of the acceptable excuses. But Tinch, I'm kind of sad with because he said he was going to call in. Well, he hinted he would call in. I guess I should say that.
So what I'm going to be posting right now is the Down in the Valley Gaming channel.
Ooh.
Let me just hope it works. Nope, cannot put in web addresses.
He's going to tweet it out on Twitter, so you need to follow us on Twitter, which is at Generation Orange. At Gen Orange Radio, and at Down in the RGV. Go follow those two on Twitter, and we will tweet out the link to the Down in the Valley streaming channel on YouTube shortly, like in the next 30 seconds.
And there it is.
And bada bing, bada boom, it's up.
Yeah. So be sure to subscribe there. I'm actually, after I do my workout, I'm actually going to start recording my FIFA World Cup, the first episode.
Play like an hour or something like that.
I'll probably play like 2 games, record it, and then see if Jacob will want to do like a narration or something.
Nice.
And then have it upload by the weekend, first episode. But little by little, we'll start posting stuff. So,
Absolutely.
And don't forget to give us your suggestions on what you want to see.
Absolutely.
So it's that time again.
It is that time.
It's 9:03, and we've kind of overstayed our welcome here.
No, because we started a minute and a half late. So
okay.
We're okay. Like we're right on time.
Yeah.
You've been listening to Generation Orange, a Houston Dynamo, Houston soccer podcast and radio show. And YouTube channel now. Not YouTube channel, YouTube show. In the Down in the Valley network.
Definitely.
Which, yeah.
Yeah, it's a network now because now we have gaming.
It is. And there's more coming. You didn't hear that from me.
Seems legit.
He's like, what? Wait, what, huh? So you've listened to Generation Orange Radio. We appreciate you tuning in. Remember, you can tune in every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central on YouTube at the Down in the Valley channel. And tune in to Edson and I talking Houston soccer and obviously world soccer when it comes up. And
predictions for the Mexico game tomorrow.
They're playing Sweden, right?
Yes. No Lundqvist, no Ibrahimovic.
He doesn't.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
He's not in. He will be there in 2 to 3 years, though. I'm gonna throw that out there. He'll be there very soon. If he continues playing the way he's playing right now, because he is lights out on that wing, and it's incredible. Prediction. I'm so going to get flack for this if it doesn't happen. Oh, Tinch, I see you're on your Xbox One. Oh, Tinch, you have been found out, my friend. Oh, snap. Oh, that is not good, dude.
Hashtag blocked.
Oh, man.
Kicked out of the Discord chat. No,
that's
bad. I'm just kidding, guys.
Anyways, okay, we're getting sidetracked. My prediction. 2-1 Sweden.
My prediction.
Give your prediction. I know it's going to be like Mexico 4-1 or something.
1-1.
Okay, I can
and that's
see that.
enough for Mexico to make it through.
Yeah, I can see that. But Sweden's good enough, 2-1. I think Sweden's going to give them a hard time.
I just feel like you just want to see the Mexican national team not make it. I'm looking at Callow. I'm looking at Callow.
Yeah, but I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it wouldn't hurt my feelings if they didn't make it. It would hurt your feelings if they didn't make it.
Oh, definitely.
But at the same time, I would love to see Sweden just out of nowhere beat Mexico.
So you know what would be funny if that were to happen? It continued to be the same way, kind of proving true pretty much this little saying about the national team: "Jugamos como nunca y perdimos como siempre." We played like we've never played, and we've lost like we've always done.
Hashtag Mexico motto. Thank you again for tuning in. Remember to tune into the Mix Zone to pull down the Mix Zone podcast week over week. Jen always has some good content on there. And remember to tune in to Down in the Valley tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central. It's every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central for your RGV soccer news and notes and discussions. And there's always good stuff with you and Jacob. I'm always intrigued by what you have to say. Mm-hmm. And on that note, Somos Toros.
Hashtag Forever Orange.
And hashtag dash TF on.
I was about to go full out.
We out.
Take care, guys. See you next week.
Bye.